Welcome, Team Encore. My guest on our show today, professional golfer Sydnee Michaels. She is a graduate of the 2011 Futures Tour. She was born in Upland, California. She's the youngest of 8 children, big family there, a former collegiate golfer at UCLA with a degree in history and sociology. She has a number of wins on the professional tour, and she's joining us from Temecula, California. How are you, Sydnee?
Good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thanks for joining us. How's your weather there? How you doing?
It's good, except it's starting to become fire season here. So I think we've already had 2 fires in the last couple days. So it's warm and dry.
Well, definitely stay safe, and we really appreciate you coming on our show here and talking to our Team Encore members. Just wanted to understand how you got into the game of golf. I know your father was a big influence on you playing the sport, but maybe tell our listeners how you came into the game.
Yeah, so I definitely came into golf in a little bit of an unconventional way. As you mentioned, I come from a pretty large family, but nobody in my family played golf, not even my dad. And when I was younger, I was really active. I was a dancer. I was a figure skater. I was played tennis. I did musical theater. I was very busy. But my dad felt that he like analyzed all the different sports and what makes a person successful in one sport versus another, and he determined that I was going to be too tall to be a figure skater. Mind you, I'm 7. So he's like, okay, you're gonna be too tall to be a figure skater. Dancing, you're not really going to be able to have a career in that. I think that women's golf is going to become popular by the time you're an adult. And so I think that you should choose to play golf or tennis. So, which one would you like to focus on? So, and he literally sat me down in his office at his desk. Like, we had this full on meeting, and he told me, I can break your heart now, or you can break your own when you're 15. But figure skating is, I just don't see a future for you in that. So golf or tennis, what do you think? And I'm like, sure, I'll try golf. So he got me some lessons, and the rest is history. So yeah, but no one in my family played golf. He didn't play golf. No one. I did not come from a golf family at all. In fact, and I learned how to play at a driving range. So so yeah,
That,
that's how I got into golf.
I'd imagine that's really unique out there on tour. And at what point in your development as a golfer did you realize, hey, I'm good at this. I can, I may have a shot at being a professional.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. And going back to my dad, he instilled in me at a very young age that whatever you're doing and whatever you're spending time on, why would you waste your time if you're not going to try to do it the best that you can and try to be at the top? And so, honestly, that was kind of drilled into me as a young girl, and in my mind I was like, well, why wouldn't I try to play professional if I'm going to spend all this time on it? I'm that, like, yeah, like, that's my goal. Like, I want to be a professional golfer. So I can't really remember a time that wasn't my goal. So it wasn't kind of like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. It was kind of just like, well, yeah, why wouldn't I try to go pro? um so that's kind of my answer to people, is I kind of always knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Very cool. And
Yeah.
were you into kind of the mental training, early on and kind of sports psychology. It sounds like your dad kind of instilled a mindset to help you become elite.
Absolutely, yeah. And I feel, even although he wasn't a golfer, a lot of my older siblings played sports. He played sports, so he knew what it took to be good at something. And I think that that was the most important thing that I learned from him, was that dedication, and kind of that mindset, that winning mindset of, I will do this, like it's putting your mind to something and sticking with it and giving it all you got. I definitely got that. He definitely instilled that in me. Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about your time playing at UCLA?
Yeah. UCLA was the top women's program. It was pretty much, UCLA, USC, and Arizona State. They were all those three schools were kind of, top three in the country. And I went to go visit all the different schools, but the coach at UCLA, I just loved her. And I also had a couple friends that were already going there that play on tour now. So I really wanted to go to a program that was going to be really competitive and was going to continue to push me. And also, obviously, our Southern California weather is, um, you know, really nice for golf year round. So that was important to me as well. So I loved it. It was an amazing experience. It was, playing an individual sport on a team is a totally different thing. And unless you play in college, you don't really get that kind of a team atmosphere, and you can really see how everybody kind of feeds off of each other's energy, even though it's an individual sport. You kind of feed off of each other, and so that was really interesting to experience that, as playing an individual sport. But I loved my time at UCLA. Obviously, I'm still repping my swag. Um, so yeah, it was a great experience.
Do you keep in touch with any of your past team members or
Oh
coaches?
yeah, yeah. We had a really close knit team. We were all really close. We all got along great, which I think is a reason why we did so well. I do know a lot of college teams sometimes have conflicts, within the teammates and issues, but we were fortunate that we were all really close. So I pretty much keep in touch with all of them, and then a lot of them are on tour.
And during that collegiate career, did you have any standout moments or tournaments that you played really well in that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I won twice. I won the regional championship when I was a freshman. And then I had the school record for the lowest 3-day scores for a long time, until I think last year somebody beat me. So I held it for like, 10 years. That's pretty good. The
Awesome.
lowest 54 hole score. And then I also won, I forget what year, but I won a pretty large tournament at Vanderbilt, that was had all the top teams, and I also had a hole in one that tournament. So,
Wow.
and then I think our team finished second like 3 times at nationals,
Wow.
which which is frustrating. But yeah, no, we had a great team. It was definitely, going to college is a huge learning experience, not just from, academically, but just kind of, learning how to grow up and be a person outside of your parents' household. So, it's just a huge growth time for everybody. And so, yeah.
While we're on the topic of college, and we'll shift gears shortly, what made you choose history and sociology for your major?
Right. So I actually started out as a sociology major, and then I switched to history. So I
Okay.
actually only have a BA in history. I have always loved history. Um, I think that kind of stemmed from, so I grew up in, it's called Claremont, California, and there's a lot of history there. We lived in a house that was built in the 30s. And just from that, I think just kind of, I just always loved history. I loved learning about history. So it was kind of a passion of mine. Also, it was also something that I could, playing golf, we had to travel a lot, so I had to miss a lot of school. So history was, if I was going to miss class, I could still read about it. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of admittedly easier than maybe some of the other majors just because I was gone so much. Um, so that was a plus for history as well.
Yeah. Well, no denying we're living in historic times right now.
Yeah, that's for sure.
What would you say is the best part of your golf game?
My short game um, has saved me so many times. Yeah, the part of my game that I've struggled the most is greens and regulation.
Okay.
Um, but I have a really good short game, so that has that is the single reason why I feel like I've been able to stay on tour for so long, is because of my short game. I love it. I love being creative with it. I love practicing it. Um, I'm a good putter, so yeah, short game.
What advice for our listeners who may be pretty jealous right now and would like a better short game themselves?
Practice.
Practice.
So many people, so many amateurs, they go to the range, they hit balls, and then they might spend 10 minutes putting and like might hit a few chips. And um I just think if anything, it should be the opposite, in my opinion, unless you're like really working on something with your swing. But, just like everything in life, it takes time to be good at something. You can't just, you know, um, go hit a couple balls and then expect to see change. I always tell amateurs, you need to be spending 80% of your practice short game. And that isn't just standing in, one spot and hitting the same chip over and over again. My favorite way to practice is, even on the golf course, is to go out and play and, hit your drive, hit your approach shot, and then, around the green, just throw a few balls around in a different spots and practice that way, practice different shots, different lies, and just kind of play with it and kind of see what works. And then also, on the practice green, not, I see people, they stand in one spot and they hit their entire bucket of balls, hitting one shot. And that's not real golf. Real golf is different lies, different shots. And so it's important, spread it out, put 30 balls out in all different spots and different lies, try different clubs. That's how you're going to improve your short game.
And for someone that says, that's sound advice. I do that. I practice. I'm great on, the short game area. I'm great on the range, but when I get out onto the course and I have that pressure, that shot over the bunker, there's that disconnect between the practice and being in a real situation. How do you bridge that gap where you go from being super comfortable practicing to having a gallery and having people watching you and having to be able to hit that shot?
I mean, I'm sure some professionals are still trying to figure out that answer. I think that's the difference between competitive golf and non-competitive golf is that added pressure, and the only way you're going to get better at it is putting yourself in that position over and over and over again. Because yeah, I'm sure. I mean, we're most professionals on tour, you when you're playing, you're not, after you've been on tour for a while, you don't even really notice the gallery anymore. But initially, it's nerve wracking because you've never played in front of that many people before. And yeah, and I'm sure, amateurs that are playing and maybe playing in their club championship or whatever, it's putting you just need to keep putting yourself in those types of positions, because it's totally different than just hitting on the range and then actually applying it to playing the golf course. That's why it's so important to have so many dynamics in your practice. You can't just hit balls on the range. You need to hit balls on the range. You need to practice your short game. You need to go out and play. It's important to practice all facets of the game. And that's why golf is so hard because it takes so much time, and there's so many different factors that play into how you play. And I think that's why golf is so hard.
It's great advice. And for our listeners who maybe want to understand your plans for the 2020 season on the LPGA Tour, obviously there's been a lot of cancellations with the virus and events, and I know
Yeah.
you've been recovering from an injury, so maybe give us an update on how you're doing and what your plans are for this year.
Yeah, so obviously this year is pretty much up in the air for everybody. So basically, I have veteran status on tour, because I've held my card for so many consecutive years. My plans this year are kind of still up in the air now. I am recovering from back surgery. It was almost a year ago now that I had back surgery. So I I was planning to start playing earlier in the season, when we had some of our tournaments that were local to Southern California. We have our event in Phoenix and Carlsbad. Um, and I also had my foundation had a charity event scheduled around those tournaments as well that had to get canceled. So honestly, I don't have an answer right now. My back is doing fine. I am playing, but I'm not 100% sure yet when I'm going to be out competing again.
Well, we're certainly glad to hear you're recovering and doing better. Um, can you tell us a little bit about your foundation?
Yeah, so my foundation, I just started it this year, and this year was going to be the inaugural charity event. So essentially, I wanted to put an emphasis on supporting girls in sports and girls in golf. So I had picked three different organizations that it would benefit from it. One of them is the Southern California PGA section. They have a foundation that does a lot of work with, low income areas, providing golf equipment for golf teams. And they actually are starting um, the first golf program in Compton. So they're responsible for that. So they're providing all the necessary needs to get that program started. And also, I was going to do a scholarship that would have been in the name of my foundation to somebody that, we picked, not necessarily a top golfer, but someone that would be just kind of an all around, good person, good kid, hard worker. So that was that charity. The other foundation was, it's called Valley Junior Golf Association, and it's a local golf association that actually where I kind of started playing my first tournaments. So we were going to sponsor a girls only tournament at my home course, and invite girls to come play, just to kind of try to introduce golf to some more women and girls. And then my third foundation was not golf related, but it is a local charity that helps single moms and their children that come from an abusive situation. And they house them and help them get jobs and kind of help them kind of get back on their feet, so them and their kids can kind of get out of the poverty that they're in and the abusive situation that they're in, and stop that cycle. So I was really passionate about that.
Amazing
It's a
work you're
lot.
doing.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. Just kind of piggybacking off of that, is there things you'd like to see, whether it's the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour, golf equipment companies, things they can be doing to encourage more women and more female junior golfers into the game?
um, yeah, that I can spend hours talking about that situation. Yeah, it's there's a lot. There's a lot of different factors. I mean, I can't lie, as a professional female golfer, I get really frustrated sometimes with the golf community. I don't feel that women's golf is showcased as much as it deserves to be, and therefore people don't understand it and people aren't paying attention to it. So, whereas I just think that the PGA and the men get so much media attention, their wives get media attention, and that's what people are going to look towards because it's familiar to them now, because it's in the media, it's popular, which is great. I mean, anything that can grow the game of golf anywhere, I'm all for. But the women are just kind of an afterthought, and that's really frustrating. And then you've got this whole wave of social media girl golfers, that have way more followers than major winners on the LPGA tour. So that can be really frustrating. That's a whole other topic, and I have a lot to say on that. Maybe we can have that discussion another time. But it's really frustrating. And I just honestly, I would love to see some of the bigger golf publications and do more stories on the women on the LPGA tour, and get people familiar with the women and their lives, and kind of the same way they do with the men. They do features on their families and their wives and their foundations or whatever. And people just don't know people, because we're not being published. So that's frustrating for me.
Certainly an interesting perspective there. Why do you think in Korea the women golfers seem to be bigger stars than the male
They
golfers?
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we go to Asia, our galleries are massive. And yeah, women's golf is hugely popular there. I don't know the answer to that well enough to speak on it. I just and they've also had superstars come out of there, like a Sayri Pack and Inby Park. They've had huge superstars that have had huge success, and I know that's a contributing factor.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. I've heard they even they need their own security there. It's just the
Oh yeah,
people
it's
are
insane. Yeah, it's insane over there, which
yeah.
is great. I mean, which is awesome.
Yep.
I wish we could bring more of that here to the States. So,
As do I. For um, so if you were not a golfer, what would you be? I thought I've read you were into dance and even I think you were quoted as saying you'd love to be a writer. What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't golfing?
I would definitely be doing something creative. So, um, acting, writing. I'm actually a good singer. Um, I would love to sing, be in a band. I don't know. I'm artsy that way. So I would definitely be doing something like that. So I love sports. I'm athletic, but I also have a whole other side to me that's very, kind of artistic and artsy. I'm a true Gemini. so um so yeah, but I would definitely be doing something like that.
Well, the next time we have you on, we might have to test out that voice. So
Right.
we won't
Right.
we won't put you on the spot.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Um, maybe something our listeners would be surprised to learn about you.
Let's see. I was state champion tap dancer.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say golfer, but yeah, that's more
No.
surprising. Tap dancer.
Yeah, I was a state champion tap dancer.
Wow. There's
So,
not a lot you can't do, we're finding out. Um,
yeah, well, yeah. Thanks.
any favorite events on tour that you really look forward to going to or have played in over the years and just had a great time?
The US Open. Love the US Open. I love the USGA, just always does a first class job. Um, the crowds are usually great. Funny story on that. So, in 2015, our US Women's Open was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And we got there Sunday before tournament week, and we're driving in, and it's Amish country out there. So there's kind of nothing. And we're driving in and we're like, okay, nobody's coming to this golf tournament. Like, there's no one here. We're literally in Amish country. What were they thinking having this tournament here? And we get to the course, and mind you, this is the Sunday before tournament week. And there was already a gallery out there on Sunday. And that week we had record setting crowds. It was
Wow.
awesome. It was so cool and so unexpected. And that was a fun week. That was really fun. But it was just so funny because we were driving in and we're like, what? In Amish country? Really? What are we doing out here? And then it was record setting crowds. So that was really cool.
Pennsylvania, it must be some fanatical golfers there, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
Very cool. And if our audience and listeners would like to engage with you or connect with your charity, is there a good way to do that?
yeah, probably through my Instagram would be the best way. I have my website linked up on my Instagram, and so I've written a couple blogs, and you can get some more information about my charity and the benefiting charities that we're going to benefit from the golf tournament. I try to keep up with Instagram as much as I can to kind of, let people know what I'm up to. I'm also starting a women's golf clothing line, and you can see that on my Instagram as well. So, yeah, I'm trying to stay busy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And did I hear you were Miss America or Miss Hawaii? Is that true?
Yeah. 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 I was Ms. Hawaii last year. My mother is 50% Hawaiian. Um, so and she has a ton of family still in Hawaii. So I was able to represent my mom's side of the family in Hawaii, and I finished second runner up, so third place. That was an experience that that was crazy. I had no idea how hard it was going to be. When I decided to do it, I I was like, okay, I'm a professional athlete. How hard could this possibly be? Whew, it
Yeah.
was really hard. So I have a whole new respect for people that do pageants, because there was so much preparation work. I couldn't believe it. And the Ms. America pageant system is very focused on charity and doing charitable outings, and we had to do a certain amount of that. We had to, because you have a personal interview with the judges, and you have to write this memoir, and then the way you walk is a certain way, and posing is a certain way, and every outfit is strategically done. It was a lot. I had no idea. It was a lot. I was exhausted by the end of it, but what a great experience. So
Well, that's amazing. And thanks again for joining us. And
yeah, thanks for having me.
yeah, of course. What's the Instagram handle for the listeners?
It's Sid Michaels Golf. Sid underscore Michaels Golf. So
Great. Well, check
yeah,
out Sydnee's Instagram page. Check out her new clothing line, and we're rooting for you. We want you to have a great season and heal from
thank
your.
you.
So we really appreciate you coming on, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.